The Swedish dream. Does it really exist? Well, yes and no. I get it. You're thinking about buying a Swedish summer dream, a little house in nature, away from the noise and pollution of the city, a place for peace, for harmony. How could it be possible to buy a house for just a fraction of what a city house costs? Well, yes, it's possible. I've done it myself. But do you truly know what you're getting yourself into? One thing is clear. There are a lot of pros and cons, and we'll try to figure them out together. I've written down a few things you'll want to keep in mind before you make that dream a reality. Point 1. Price. The average price for a vacation home in Sweden is around $230,000, but with large variations. Why is your house cheap? How is it possible that you can buy this house for only $30,000? The answer is embedded in Swedish history. I would say that Sweden is divided into 3 parts: the southern part, the central part, and the northern part. In the southern part, the majority of the population lives. The climate is milder, the summer is longer, and the winter is shorter. Here you'll find better agricultural opportunities. Houses here are generally quite expensive. If you're looking for snow and winter landscapes, you should avoid this part of Sweden. The average price for a vacation home here is around $200,000. In the central part, you'll find, among other things, Sweden's capital, but also beautiful landscapes like Dalarna, where much of Sweden's history rests. In the central part, the agricultural opportunities are okay, and if you're lucky, you might get a white winter with some snow. The houses are also generally quite expensive. The average price for a vacation home here is around $190,000. Northern Sweden is the part of Sweden where you can find the absolutely cheapest houses. It is sparsely populated, and the agricultural opportunities are limited. About 200 years ago, this part of the country was struck by a catastrophic famine. They called it the Years of the Devil. It was the years when summer never really came and the harvest failed. 27,000 people died from hunger during those years. This contributed to many people in these landscapes eventually migrating to America. This is the part of Sweden with the shortest summer and the longest winter. Winter can be harsh, with temperatures dropping to -20 degrees Celsius or more. There are generally long distances, and you'll likely be very dependent on a car with decent winter capabilities. The average price for a vacation home here is around $120,000, but we're not counting the expensive houses in the popular mountain resorts. There are very large price differences. You can find houses for $10,000 and houses that are extremely expensive. But generally speaking, the houses here are cheap, and here they're expensive. Point 2. Sewer system. Before the purchase, you need to check the property's sewer system. In rural Sweden, there is rarely a municipal sewage system, which means it's up to you as the property owner to ensure that you have an approved sewer system. When I bought my vacation home, I was called by the authorities a month after the purchase. They had noted that the property had an old, outdated sewer system, and they ordered me to immediately begin planning for a new one. Now, I was lucky that I could do most of the work myself, but my cost still ended up being $3,500 for the sewer and $20,500 for a combustion toilet. Total, around $6,000. Not a fun expense. It might also be wise to check if the water to the property is safe to drink. Make sure that regular water tests have been done if the property has a well with drinking water. Also check that the water level in the well is good. It's going to be a hassle in the summer if the well dries up. If the water is not safe to drink, you've got a problem. A new well often costs over $10,000 to install. I have 2 wells on my property, and we take water samples every 2 years. So far, we've always had potable water. If you're buying a house near a big city and there is no municipal water yet, the municipality may have plans to install it on your property. This could cost you anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, maybe even more. Check with the municipality before you buy to see if there are any such plans. You'll find contact information for all Swedish municipalities in the video description. Point 3. Work on the house. Depending on the condition of your house and the size of the lot, this will contribute to the amount of work required from your side. Many cheap houses in Sweden are old farms and cottages that may be over 100 years old. On the surface, it may look fantastic, but many of these log cabins have been overclad with paneling. You need to check that the frame is in good condition on your future house. The bottom logs of log houses are the most vulnerable, but areas around windows are also common places where rot can occur. If your bottom logs are rotten, you're looking at a time-consuming and expensive job to fix this. Expect at least $200 per meter of log that needs replacing. Another challenge is finding skilled people to make these repairs. You'll likely have waiting times of at least 6 months, maybe longer, if you even manage to find a knowledgeable carpenter in your area. I got several quotes to fix my damaged log house. They were outrageous. One company wanted $20,000 to lift the house and replace a few logs. It frustrated me so much that I decided to do it myself. You can find a video on how I did it on my channel. You'll likely also want to renovate the inside. And if your house is in rural Sweden, you should expect to do it yourself. Before the purchase, you need to check that any fireplaces are approved for use. If they aren't approved, you probably have a bigger problem and may need to renovate your chimney. The cost of relining a chimney is around $1,000 to $1,500. Check the roof carefully before the purchase. A leaking roof is an exponentially growing problem. Expect $10,000 to $20,000 in cost for a roof replacement if you hire someone to do it. If you know when the roof was last replaced and whether it was done correctly, the lifespan of roofs in Sweden generally looks like this. Tar paper, around 15 to 20 years. Roof tiles, around 30 years. Standing seam metal, around 40 years. If you buy a house with a basement, expect that it may need to be drained again after about 25 to 30 years. Point 4. Isn't it amazing to have a large and beautiful lawn? I have one on my property, but keep in mind that it takes time and money to keep it in good condition. Mowing my lawn takes about 1 hour, and then I need to trim the brush around the lot. Count on another hour. I do this once a week during the summer. On top of that, the machines need maintenance. Oil needs to be changed, blades need sharpening. There's always something to do in terms of upkeep. At my cabin, we have a private road. With a private road, it means that no one else but you takes care of the road. My road has been washed out by rain more than once. I've had to load gravel onto my own trailer several times to repair the road. Not a particularly expensive job, but it's a heavy and time-consuming task. In the winter, it's up to you to keep the road cleared. Expect that you'll need a tractor or a larger four-wheeler for this if you have a long road. At my property, the road is about 200 meters long, but I'm lucky to have a neighbor with a tractor who clears the road in winter. Point 5. Winter. If you buy a house in northern Sweden, you need to prepare for winter, which lasts about half the year, from November to April. And the winter here is no joke. We start with a solid darkness from November, and in some places in northern Sweden, the sun doesn't even rise from the beginning of December until early January. Winter was a major reason why 1.3 million people, over 20% of Sweden's population, migrated to the USA in the 1800s. You need to prepare yourself for a demanding time when winter strikes in northern Sweden. But just as liberating and amazing is the spring when it arrives, sometime around April or May. Point 6. Gardening. Maybe you dream of having your own self-sufficient garden, living off the land, and believe me, it's possible. But there are challenges. The growing season is quite short, so carefully consider which crops you want to grow. Think about a greenhouse, perhaps with some kind of heating. Cold frost nights can destroy an entire crop in just a few hours. Point 7. Mice. If you buy a house out in the woods in Sweden, you need to be prepared for mice and voles. Mice seek warm houses when winter and cold weather arrive. You can set traps, but if you're planning to live there permanently, I recommend getting a cat. They are effective mouse hunters. You should also make sure to keep the grass and other vegetation around the house short. Mice don't like running across open areas. Another thing you can do is seal any holes leading into the house. I usually use steel wool to block any gaps. But if you still find mice in your house and don't know where they're getting in, start your search under your kitchen sink. That is the most common entry point for mice. Point 8. Mosquitoes. In the middle of June, the mosquito eggs hatch, and in many parts of Sweden, summer turns into a nightmare. Some places get an enormous number of mosquitoes, so many that the authorities spray large areas to reduce their population. Keep this in mind when buying a house. It may sound like a small issue, but trust me, if you can find a place with fewer mosquitoes, go for it. At my country house, there are mosquitoes. Sometimes a lot, sometimes fewer. It depends largely on how wet the surrounding land is. In spring, I take action every year to reduce the population. I set up birdhouses and bat boxes. Birds and bats are great allies in your fight against mosquitoes, so make sure they settle on your property. I also set up gas-powered mosquito traps. They're effective if placed correctly. The last thing I do is install mosquito nets on the beds and sometimes light a fire. Mosquitoes hate smoke, so every now and then if we're outside, I light a fire in a barrel to keep them at bay. Point 9. Wind farms. In Sweden, like many other countries, wind power is expanding and wind farms are becoming more common. These farms are often located in rural areas, and you don't want these farms near your property. Check with the municipality if they are planning any new wind farms in your local area. As mentioned earlier, you can find contact details for all of Sweden's municipalities in the description of the video. Point 10. Finding housing. The biggest site in Sweden for buying homes is Hemnet, but the thing is, Hemnet.se is extremely expensive to use. Prices can be as high as $1,300 or more, so there's a risk that the cheapest houses won't show up there. There are other sites that are free, Boneo.se and Booli.se. If you're looking for houses sold by private individuals, you'll find them easiest on Blocket.se. You'll find all the links in the video description. I hope this video didn't come across too negatively. Sweden is a wonderful country, and there are incredibly beautiful and amazing houses here. My intention is not to discourage you from buying, but rather to help guide you along the way. I wish you the best of luck in your search for your dream home. Best wishes, Chris.